You see, 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, I received a phone call. It was from a conference organizer. And she says to me, hey, we are organizing a conference, and we would love for you to be the keynote speaker. And I said, well, that's wonderful. What is the name of the conference? And she says, FailCon. FailCon, which literally stands for Failure Conference. I said, let me get this straight. I've been nominated to be a keynote speaker for a conference on failure. And for good reason. I had started at that point in time, I had started 2 companies that, let's just say, did not succeed. And I had joined a third that some of you are familiar with called Groupon, early days. And for a while, we had done very well. We were growing faster than Facebook, faster than Amazon, faster than Google. We were on the cover of Forbes magazine as the fastest growing company of all time. And then all of a sudden, it all came crashing down. We lost $16 billion of market value within 3 financial quarters, and that never came back. So yeah, I guess I had a few things to say about the topic of failure. And so I'm on stage, and I'm giving this speech, and I didn't realize this, but there was a reporter from the New York Times in the audience. Fast forward to a full-length article on failure with my face as the cover of this article. And the story goes viral. I mean, I kid you not, there was a point in time where you could have Googled the word failure. That's it, just the word failure. And my face would have been one of your top search results. But you know, somebody important to me gave me a piece of advice. And what she said to me at the time was that long-term success comes from short-term embarrassment. Long-term success comes from short-term embarrassment if you can learn something from it, if you can do something with it. And what I decided to do at this time was I started to email all these people that I admired, people who had no idea who I was, but I would literally cold email them, and I would include a link to this article. And I'd say, and these were Oscar-winning filmmakers, these were celebrity chefs, these were leaders of big iconic companies, coaches of professional sports teams. And I would say to them, hey, listen, as you can see from this article, I don't know what I'm doing. Would you be willing to give me some advice? And the response rate to that email was extraordinarily high. For some reason, people really responded to it. They wanted to talk not only about their success, but they wanted to talk about their failure. And what that led to was to now hundreds of conversations with some of the most extraordinary people on the planet about not just what happens when things are going well, but what happens when things aren't going so well. What happens when things are tough, when they're challenging, when things feel like they're falling off the rails. And I found myself sitting on this access to these stories and this data that hadn't really been published or talked about before. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. But there was one key thing that continued to come up over and over again during these conversations. One key thing, which is that if you compare teams and organizations and leaders who are able to gain momentum in their lives and in their careers, and you compare it to people who fizzle out, people who lose momentum over time, the people who lose momentum, very rarely do they run out of time, very rarely do they run out of talent. What they almost always run out of is energy. Let me say that again. People who fizzle out, very rarely do they run out of time or talent. What they almost always run out of is energy. It's not that they don't have great ideas. It's sometimes not even that they don't have resources to pursue it. They just simply don't have a lot of gas in the tank. They become exhausted.